Hello and welcome. I'm so excited to have you here today. Today I'm talking with Nicholas Dob. He is a trauma therapist and resilience coach. Welcome, Nicholas.
Thanks, Connie. It's great to be here. Looking forward to it.
I am too. I know we're going to have a lot of amazing things to talk about here. And what I want to do first of all is dive right into just before we came on this conversation, three really big mistakes that a lot of people are making that they don't even know that they're making right now, and they got to pay attention to them. And the first thing that you mentioned is in terms of trauma and having situations in their life, then we're going to dig into that in a little bit. One of the biggest problems is people know they need help, but now's not the right time. And so, what do you have to say to them? Is there ever a good time?
Well, there isn't a good time. The stars don't quite align like that. And so often I come across clients and they're saying, yeah, I'll come back when I don't have this happening in my life that's stressing. I'll come back when I've got a little bit more money. I'll come back when I've dealt with this. I just don't have time right now. But that's the whole problem. They're in this cycle of not coping, of having distress in their lives. And they're waiting for things to clear up, but they actually need some support and help before those things are going to clear up. So if they're waiting for the right time, the years will literally tick by. And if they're carrying that stress, then that's going to only exacerbate itself over time. The burden will become heavier, and they'll still be waiting for that right time when they're going to see that professional, whether it's a coach, therapist, a counselor. And it's so important to go, now is the time, and now I can engage someone to help me through this, rather than just waiting, because that's really all they're doing. And it's saying, like, I'm going to wait until there's no traffic on the major highway. Well, there's always going to be traffic. And it's important for people to realize that, as uncomfortable as it is, that's my job, to support you through that discomfort. So the right time won't come along.
That's the short answer, isn't it? The right time isn't going to come along. And a lot of people just think it's going to go away. They can sweep it under the rug. True or false?
Absolutely, yes. I think if they just deal with this, then everything else in their life will sort out. If they just finish that project at work, or once the child's moved into school age or secondary school or finished school and those sorts of things, once this milestone, yes, it may provide some relief, but they haven't actually dealt with what's happening on the inside. And so waiting for something on the outside isn't going to be what's right. It's dealing with what's on the inside so that you can cope with things better and get more satisfaction out of life.
Yeah, yeah. And we were talking about all the misinformation and all the stuff that's out there, um, and that a lot of people just think they can watch a YouTube video and fix it themselves. And that's not true either. I know that personally. So can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely, Connie. Time and time again, I'll just be in conversations, and it's not even someone necessarily coming to see me professionally, but they have read books. They maybe even have trained in modalities. They've watched videos. They've gone to a Tony Robbins seminar or something like that. And all of those things that help, they're great tools and aspects to support a shift, that internal shift again. Yet a surgeon can't operate on themselves. Coaches need coaches. So just because you've got some maybe fantastic information, and quite often only a little bit of information, individuals don't have the skills to really do their own healing. And quite often it's a case of, when a therapist or coach is there supporting someone or facilitating change in their life, they're in a particular brainwave frequency, and they need their client to be in a different frequency. So it's being in one state, but having the facilitator, coach or counselor, therapist, to take them through, to guide them through. And I can't do that for myself even. I can't be both a client and a practitioner. I need someone to support me. And this is the thing. Just because you have tools, and not disregarding But you could have some fabulous tools. However, engaging the right people to facilitate change. And I'm all about lasting change, changing aspects of your life that are going to ripple through to other parts of your life. And so just by doing certain processes that you might have seen on a video or having learned at a seminar, it's more than that. It's actually facilitating the change that's going to ripple out into all parts of your life to have lasting change. Time and again, I've seen people say, oh, I've been to this therapist briefly, but it didn't last. And that's what I am, getting down to the core of where that distress is and how that manifests in a person's life. Sometimes it can be stress, it can be anxiety, it can manifest in so many different ways. And the fallout might be not working as well as you'd like, not having clarity of mind, relationships all the time. How it can impact relationships is sad, actually, because people have great intent, they have love, and yet they're being dysfunctional in with the people they care about, their children, their partners, their parents, etc. And it's really unfortunate. So not just relying on or believing that, hey, I can just fix myself. You're not supposed to. Like I said before, a surgeon can't operate on themselves. You're not supposed to.
Yeah, what about people that think they're so broken they can't be fixed? Like they're just like, I'm beyond help. Is that that you said that's something that you hear quite often? So what do you have to say to them?
Sure. Nobody's broken. We have wounding. I think everybody's got what I call emotional wounding. I think everybody's got things that, to varying degrees, obviously, that I say is distress in your life. You've got your challenges, you've got your hurdles, and sure, you may be dealing with mental health issues, you may be dealing with physical issues. I'm not denying any of that. However, nobody's fully broken. Nobody can't be fixed. And I'm not about fixing, I'm about facilitating change. And as I said before, lasting change so that your quality of life improves, the quality of how you feel about yourself improves. And again, it ripples out into your relationships and other parts of your life, whether you're an employer or an employee, might be retired, might not be working. It doesn't matter. Whatever you're doing, there is support for you. And I've had clients thinking, oh, look, I've been to other therapists, I've been to other psychologists, counselors, and it hasn't worked. So why would you work? And even if they engage me, I know for the first few sessions they're going, I'm just doing this because, but I don't believe it's going to work. And when I get a couple of months down the track, they can start to really feel that, well, they're creating change in their life. I facilitate it, the client creates the change. So I don't believe anyone's broken. I don't believe anyone can't be fixed. If we may have physical limitations or age limitations or emotional limitations, sure. But that doesn't mean you can't have a better quality of life. And that's what I'm about. And so no matter what the history is, improving your quality of life is possible.
Yeah, you talked about it coming from the inside. So the fix, you don't actually fix people or heal them. The people heal themselves by what you're saying. Is that right?
That's absolutely correct. I can't fix anybody. If I'm wanting to help a client and they're sitting back there with their arms folded and going, this is a load of rubbish, that client is not going to get changed. They have already decided, they've got barriers up, they've got filters up, and their perspective is going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I can't heal someone that doesn't want to be healed. I can't shift their perspective if they don't want to shift their perspective. And so absolutely, the client does all the healing, the client does all the changes, but I have the techniques, I have the skills and the knowledge that supports the clients to have wonderful change, to have more, I guess, fulfillment in their life. And a lot of them go more than I thought was possible because they resided that this is as good as it gets, or it can maybe increase 10%. And all of a sudden they've found it's increased 30 or 40%. They go, oh, wow. So there is more to life than what I thought.
Oh, that's such a significant change. I wish everybody could feel that difference for sure. So, trauma therapist, the word trauma brings up something way different in my mind than how you described it to me before we came on this call. What is the definition of trauma in terms of being a trauma therapist? What are you talking about when you use that word there?
Well, you've already heard me use the word distress a few times, and I think you could substitute the word trauma for distress. And sometimes, yeah, people have had some horrific things happen to them, from going to war, from extreme physical injuries. And, if someone's had something, a leg or arm that's needed to be amputated, or workplace injury, there's so many different levels of abuse, of physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, etc. And so we can relate to those perhaps as being traumatic. However, I see that trauma or distress can be really insignificant for someone because it's relative to that person's experience. And if I paint the scenario of there's a little 4-year-old boy or girl, and they're so busy being a good little person, and they've got their crayons out and they're doing this drawing, and it's like they're just putting their heart and soul into this drawing. And meanwhile, mum's busy in the kitchen, and she's stressed. She's got life stresses that a 4-year-old will never understand, nor are they supposed to. And so there might be siblings involved, and they're at school, they're going to be coming home soon. Mum hasn't started dinner, and dad likes dinner by a particular time. There's financial stresses, emotional stresses that she's dealing with. Meanwhile, back to the little 4-year-old, drawing this drawing with the crayons, putting heart and soul. And it's like, oh, it feels like been doing it all day, because it's about 45 minutes for a 4-year-old. The perception of time is different. And very excited, the little 4-year-old goes running into the kitchen, goes, "Mummy, mummy, mummy, come and look at this drawing. Please come and look at this drawing." And mummy's really busy and waiting for a moment. So she's, just a moment, honey. And after about 30 seconds, which feels like 5 minutes for the 4-year-old, "Mummy, mummy, mummy, please come and look at my drawing, please." And mummy just goes, "Leave me alone." And in that moment, for that 4-year-old, that experience could be devastating. We may look at it from a higher perspective and say, it's nothing, you'll get over it. But that moment for that 4-year-old could really be devastating. And they create a lot of beliefs. That little 4-year-old person has just created beliefs that, so I'm not that important. So even if I put in a really big effort into something, it's not worth it. No one's going to appreciate it. And so many different things. And they actually become beliefs and affect our operating system and behavior patterns. Having fully forgotten about that experience, that 4-year-old then goes into primary school and might be trying something and think they've done a really good job in their little exercise at school. And the teacher goes, "That's terrible. You get a C minus," where this kid thinks they've done a great job. And again forgets it and goes into secondary school and does an assignment and puts their heart and soul into it and doesn't get the grade they're hoping for. And it reinforces that belief that happened way back when, there's no point in trying. So that person actually stops trying. It affects their behavior, affects their operating system. And they have a belief that no matter how hard I try, it's not going to be appreciated. And they'll actually set themselves up for failure. That's the self-sabotage that can come in. So trauma can be insignificant, seemingly insignificant, but it's the experience to the person. And you can apply that to so many different experiences that you've probably had in your life. Have you been distressed? And it's not that you're always reliving that 4-year-old experience or 10-year-old experience, but it's had an impact in your life, where maybe you're attracted to someone and they rejected you. Maybe mum or dad didn't give you the loving in the way you're looking for it. Maybe you didn't feel heard or understood. It's distress in a life, and it can have an impact ongoing. It does have impact ongoing, because I see it time and time again. However, those traumas, those distresses that keep living on inside a person, they can be healed. And that's what I do, heal those wounds.
Wow. You spoke right to my heart. I'm sure everybody watching this got some emotional impact out of that. That's such a powerful story. So in terms of now that wounded child has become an adult, and maybe that adult is watching this video right now, how do they know, based on the three mistakes also that we talked about, how do they know they need to call you? What are some signs they can now look for in their life and go, ooh, I really do need to call Nicholas? How does that really show up in their wants and needs right now as an adult?
Certainly. And through that filter of what trauma is that maybe people haven't associated with, it manifests, it it comes out in symptoms. So the symptoms are anxiety, depression, not feeling lovable, not feeling respected. It's dysfunctional relationships, struggling in a work environment. So it can impact all parts of our life. Health issues, might be overweight, and I go on the diet, and sure enough, the weight ends up coming back on. And I'm going to go to the gym and get fit, but I never quite get lifting the weights as strong as I want, or I never get to go as fast as I desire. I'm going to start dancing. I'm going to start art classes and maybe even enroll in them, do a few, and it ends up dropping away. So it's what stresses does someone have, or I prefer to call it, what distress do you have? And certainly there's a healthy way of stress being utilized, but we're looking at the distress in your life and that repetition or prolonged struggling. They just seem to never quite get through. Or maybe you're looking for a relationship, you never seem to meet the right person. You don't get the promotion at work that you think you'd like, but you kind of know that you haven't worked as well as you'd like to as well. So I believe people know something, but they may not have identified it as actually being in distress because it's become their norm. This is their normal way of being. And sure, I have arguments with people. Isn't that normal? Well, it doesn't have to be. Sure, I've got health issues. Does it have to be? Not necessarily. So they're the symptoms, they're the effects. It could be not sleeping well. And there's a myriad of symptoms. And so I don't look at things like we hear often, that's you've got anxiety disorder, you've got depression. They're the symptoms. They're not the problem. I get to the cause of the problem. And if we can deal with that, then we can clear that out and the symptoms start to go away.
You've clearly got a lot of background there that brought you to this day. Uh, can you share your past experience, certifications, and kind of what got you to here, and why are you such an authority on this?
Where do I begin? I was fortunate that I was exposed to, I'll just call it personal development philosophies in my life, and that my family, mum and dad, got involved in a place in Brisbane. I'm from Brisbane, Australia, a place called the Relaxation Centre, taught meditation courses and different things. So I was exposed to that at a young age. At the age of 13, I was the youngest to go through their signature program at this place. And at one point of time, some of the older people listening to this may remember a man called Norman Vincent Peale from the United States of America. My mother was involved in bringing Norman Vincent Peale on a lecture tour to Australia. So I've had these little exposures from a young age and interest in that. But it took me having a crisis. That's where my significant change happened. I had been in deep depression. I wasn't enjoying life. Relationships had deteriorated, and I certainly wasn't happy, and I certainly wasn't where I wanted to be or thought I should have been, which was only more criticism upon myself. And through my own crisis, through being totally depressed, struggling to even hold a job at the time, not having contact with my two young daughters was devastating. It was like the final straw, the needle on the haystack, the needle on the camel's back, rather, that had me collapse. And it was a point then. I had a turning point. Do I keep wallowing in this, which believe me, I'd been wallowing and completely in victim mode, or can I shift it? And I shifted it. I went looking, not knowing how. I had no idea because any of the tools I had learned previously weren't helping me because I didn't know how to use them and I didn't have the capacity to use them. So two significant things happened in my life. I joined an organization in Brisbane, um, for men. That is, their ethos is men supporting men. And that has been significant in my life, that I started relating to men completely differently than I had ever before, because I realized that I'd had this internal fear that I was actually afraid of men. And yet joining this program now, I am fully involved with doing programs there, facilitating programs in menswear. I then also got involved with an organization, Authentic Education, that I was trained as a life coach. And initially, I didn't do too much with that, practicing a little bit here and there, but not too much. And then I went on and through the work that I was doing and personal growth I was going through, I went through a whole rebuilding phase. And I rebuilt myself because there's so much of my behaviors and beliefs that I wasn't happy with. So I found new ways of doing it through these programs. And then I trained in a modality referred to as TRTP, and that stands for the Richards Trauma Process. And it was life-changing for me. It was that extra piece I really needed. And TRTP taps into a person's subconscious, and it's our subconscious. That's where all our our beliefs are held. That's where our trauma is held. Our distress, our emotional wounding, it's held in our bodies, physical bodies, and our subconscious mind. So tapping into the subconscious mind to heal the wounds and healing myself initially, that's what it was about, to get myself with this solid foundation and then start putting these skills into use to help other people, because I look around me and so many people are struggling and have been struggling for so many years. I know because I've experienced it, things can change drastically. And I have a passion for helping and healing. That's so important to me, because I know that healing one person ripples out, that they can then be a better person, that they communicate differently, they operate differently. And a healthier, happier person improves relationships, improves what they might be doing for their career, finds them a job, finds them a relationship. It just ripples out. Their health improves, their mental clarity improves. So I've experienced this myself, and now that's what I want going forward. That's why I'm here. And so I've continued to study, I've continued to learn, and now I just have this unique position that for my clients, I provide the therapy work and I provide coaching. And sometimes it's a little more therapy, sometimes it's a little more coaching, because every client before me is unique. Every client before me has had different life experiences. So it's tailored to them. I can't do a cookie cutter approach. It's not appropriate. I have to look after each client because their emotional wounds are their own. No two people have exactly the same. There's similarities, most definitely. And I can use my skills, my knowledge, my wisdom to tailor that healing for others so that they can engage in their world, their environment, to have a much more improved quality of life.
You feel your passion all the way over here.
I think I'm
You
getting carried away, Connie. But
no,
I love it. I
not
really
at
do love
all.
it.
I can totally feel it, that unique blend of coaching and therapy that is Nicholas Dob. I can feel it. I really can. So there's four main pillars that you talk about with your clients, and I want to say it because it's just fun to say. Ditch,
Go for it.
develop, discover, and dance. That just feels good to say. Can you explain those pillars? I know it's the process you take your clients through, so just a little snippet of what's to be expected when people come and see you, because I know everybody's going to be rushing to your door.
Great. So, yes, the four pillars Connie just mentioned: ditch, develop, discover, and dance. Ditch. It is ditching the baggage and the burdens that you've been carrying. And that was what I was referring to, the process. So how to heal at least some of those important, those big emotional wounds. And with that, tapping into the subconscious, tapping into the belief, so that a person can go forward differently. Once we take away that, the metaphorical baggage, if you're not carrying that weight, I've got a bit more freedom. I can move now. I can breathe and express myself differently because I'm no longer carrying that burden that I don't need anymore. Develop. I just find it so important that a person develops their relationship with themselves. And so many people are unaware of what I even mean by that, because relationships are only identifying with other people, with their loved one, with their family, their friends, their colleagues. Start with the relationship with yourself. It's so important. And don't just call it self-love. I call it a relationship. If you think about anyone that's really important to you, a family member, for instance, there will be lots of things you love about that person, but there's bound to be a few things that gets a bit frustrating or irritating. And sure, you might compromise and let it go, but that just expresses that it's multifaceted. And there might be times where you're very serious with someone. There might be times where you're playful and have banter. Do that with yourself. Have a full relationship with yourself. Self-forgiveness, self-compassion are all parts of that. So develop that relationship, and it's gratifying. Discover is, once we've cleared away some things, you can discover more clarity of purpose in your life. You can discover a deeper relationship with those around you, and it's more meaningful. And discover for yourself a heightened consciousness. And if you've got these things happening in your life, you'll feel a lot more success, satisfaction, and self-assurance. And dance. Can't come to dance straight away, but once people have been going through doing work with me, we get to dance with life, the zest of life. And zest is enthusiasm. It's energetic. It's joy. It's all of these woven. So I want you to dance with life, whatever that means for you. And have that, so coming from your authentic self, having developed that relationship with yourself, it's the true you. So be the true you and dance with life.
Perfectly said. Thank you. As we wrap up this interview, is there any last minute words you'd like to share with the audience?
Sure. I think some key things I want for all my clients is that they realize that action is a really important part of this. And through taking action, or what I call inspired action, and that's my job to guide what that looks like and feels like for a person. So through action, they can have more freedom. Freedom in who they are, how they engage with life. And having got to this, people in distress have a narrow viewpoint. And as they get in that camera, as they expand, there's all these other opportunities and things to experience in life. And life has its challenges, but life is magnificent. And see and feel and engage more of the magnificence of life. So yeah, that's through the freedom you can gain.
Perfectly said. Great way to wrap up this call. Thank you so much. Everybody watching this, if you want to reach out to Nicholas, and I suggest that you do, right by this video is a button you can click on and it'll get you right to him, and you can ask him questions and see how he can help you to dance. Thank you so much for your time today, Nicholas.
And thank you, Connie. It's been an absolute pleasure. And you can see that I get carried away sometimes. And that's because I know what change can look like.
So it's your
thank
passion.
you for,
it shows through.
Thank you for your time, Connie.
Thank you.